Hello, I'm Michelle Mohrweis, author of The Trouble with Robots, and today I'm going to read you the first chapter. Chapter 1, Evelyn. It was my very first robotics tournament, and everything was going wrong. My robot lay atop the wooden table, new metal gleaming under the gym lights. The bot looked perfect, yet when I pressed forward on the remote control, nothing happened. The robot sat unmoving, broken. No, I moaned. Think, Evelyn, think. You can fix this. I jiggled the wires on the robot. I pressed the controller's joystick forward again. Nothing. I checked the plastic wheels, using my fingers to measure the spaces between them. They were exactly 3 finger widths apart. I pulled on the small metal claw, lifting it up and down. Its gears squeaked as the claw opened and closed. The gears were perfect. The claw was perfect. Everything was perfect. I knew because I had built this robot myself. I'd been working on it since the first day of 8th grade. My school was semi-year round and started in July, so I got to spend the last 2 months building and perfecting it. Over 200 pieces were perfectly in place, down to the smallest screws. There was nothing wrong with my robot, except, the part where it wasn't rolling. I pushed on the controller one more time, with my eyes locked on the robot for any movement at all. Nope. I groaned and flopped forward, my face pressed against the cool plywood of the cafeteria table, and my dark red hair settled around me like a blanket. I breathed in and out, imagining my breath scattering across the grains of wood as I tried to fight back the sick roiling in my stomach. Calm. I had to stay calm. There was a buzz around me, 100 other high school and middle school teams that were had working robots ready to compete. It would be way too loud if not for the headphones I wore over my ears. They quieted everything just enough that I could still hear conversations, but the chaos of the competition wasn't so painfully loud. I squeezed my eyes shut and listened to the murmur of voices, the clanking of metal, and muffled shouts of excitement. Almost 30 other groups testing their robots and searching for the alliance teams they would compete alongside. I'd never join them if I couldn't get the robot working. This is hopeless, I mumbled into the table. I looked back up at the robot, staring at its boxy form. Why aren't you working? The robot did not respond. I blinked away tears and swallowed quickly, fighting back the bitter taste rising in my throat. I had to focus. What did Nayeli, my best friend, always say? Take a deep breath and think things through. I could do that. Deep breath in. Okay, I had a problem. I was good at solving problems, which was funny because a lot of adults acted like autistic kids weren't good at that, but I liked fixing things and problem solving. Mrs. Weir, the robotics teacher, had made me team lead because she knew I could handle tough situations. Deep breath out. I poked at the controller again. The robot itself was fine, which meant the problem was either in the code or the controller's connection. Neither were my fault, though. I couldn't lose because of this. I couldn't. Deep breath in. Panicking wouldn't fix the robot. I could fix a problem with the controller, but I would need the others to come back to our table if it was a coding issue. My programming skills were trash. That was a bigger problem. Alex, Santino, Varsha, and DJ were supposed to be helping me, but they ran off almost 10 minutes ago to explore the high school we were competing at and still hadn't returned to the gym. Knowing those slackers, they could be anywhere by now. I wished I could ask Mrs. Weir for help, but she couldn't make it to the tournament, and the history teacher who brought us here instead knew nothing about robotics. It was ask my team or do it myself. I shuddered and stared at the broken robot. With or without them, I could do this. I had to do this. The easiest thing to check was the controller's connection. I grabbed my phone and pulled up a reference guide. My phone screen was cracked, and I had to use the school's public Wi-Fi since my family didn't have a good data plan, but at least I had a phone. It wasn't as good as the fancy computers some kids brought to the tournament, but it was better than nothing. The guide loaded slowly. I tapped my foot against the floor as if I could bounce my nerves out through my foot and scatter them away across the gym. Finally, it was ready. I scrolled down to the directions for resetting the controller. Then I followed the steps, forcing myself to do it carefully. I pressed the little button beside the controller's screen, watched it flicker then turn off, held down the power button until it started back up, clicked through the screen options to the radio connection, and turned it off and back on. After a long, long moment, the connected symbol flashed on the controller's screen. A matching symbol appeared on the robot brain that was attached to the bottom of our robot. Controller reset, done. With the controller and robot connected again, it should have worked perfectly. Yet when I pushed the joystick forward, the bot still didn't move. I pushed against the boxy metal frame, forcing the robot to roll. The wheels turned, metal creaked, and then one wheel fell off. The wheel rolled along the table until it fell over with a plop. Ugh, no! I dropped the controller onto the table. Everyone else had working robots except for me. My school, Barton Junior High, would be a joke. I would be a joke. Cheers rose from the arena. I pressed my headphones harder against my ears, blocking out the noise even as I turned to look. A group of kids grabbed their bot and carried it back to their table. They high-fived the other teams as they passed, laughing and smiling. I wiped away my tears and watched them weave through the mess of tables and robots. They headed back to their own spot where their team name was printed out on fancy cardstock and stuck in the center of the mess. Whitesell High School, home of the Tech Tigers. The rolling nausea in my stomach twisted into want. For a moment, as I watched the Tigers work at repairs, I forgot my own broken bot. They moved so smoothly together. One kid handed another the parts they needed, while another held the robot steady. A third kid ran off to find their next alliance team, while a fourth took notes on how they had done. Their robot was as impressive as the team. They built it big and blocky, but I had seen it move fast in the practice arena earlier today. It stacked 4 cubes at once in the goal zones, a feat that made my own little clawbot seem like a child's toy. The Tech Tigers were perfect. They were everything. Someday, I whispered to myself, someday I would be at that table wearing the yellow and black Tech Tiger jacket. I was only in 8th grade now, but next year I was going to Whitesell High School. I'd be one of them. I just had to prove that I was good enough for them to want me. One of the Tigers pointed to the scoreboard where their team's name rose to first in the rankings, and they all broke out into cheers. I sighed, staring at the scrolling list of team names. Then I froze. Beside the scores sat a list of upcoming matches. My team was next. Oh no. No, I wasn't ready. My heart stuttered in my chest. My head felt all buzzy. The nauseous feeling returned, and this time I feared I actually would puke. I swallowed hard and looked around. Where was my team? The 2 teams we were up against waited by the arena. Our randomly assigned alliance, some school from the east side of Phoenix, was already walking that way. If I didn't hurry, they would have to compete alone, and I wasn't actually sure what happened if a team missed a match. I didn't want to find out. I stuck a strand of hair in my mouth and looked around again. My neck prickled as I remembered that Mama watched from the stands. I spit out the hair and smoothed it down. My eyes drifted across the school gym, past the round tables that teams built on, past the big arena with its plastic walls and foam mats, and to the stands beyond. There were my moms. Mama smiled when she saw me looking, and Mum waved. They came all this way to watch me compete. Mama even took the day off of work. I couldn't let them down. Deep breaths. Calm. I had to stay calm. There was no sign of Alex, DJ, Santino, or Varsha anywhere in the crowded gym. No bright red shirts with Barton Team B scrawled across them. They must be out exploring the high school. Of course, Team A didn't have this problem. The other robotics team from my school was 3 tables away, already done with their first match and chatting with the sleepy-looking history teacher. None of them had gone running off to play, leaving behind a broken robot. None of them struggled with robotics. Why did I have to be stuck with the hopeless team? This is the worst, I whispered, staring around the gym. I didn't even know where to look for the others. I had never been to this high school before. It sat halfway across Phoenix, on the opposite side of the city from Barton Junior High, in some rich neighborhood that had money for a new gym and fancy water dispensers. It was also big, a massive maze of hallways and rooms with working air conditioning that I'd probably get lost in easy. A new school, new uncertainties, and the others off hiding somewhere unpredictable. I shuddered. Still, I had to find them if I wanted any chance at winning. I lunged away from the table, praying they wouldn't be far. Sweat broke out on the back of my neck. Then a bell rang in my mind. The water dispensers. When we arrived at the tournament, the other kids were impressed by how they had hot and cold water. It would be just like those jerks to wander back over to one and start messing around. I ran across the gym floor, dodging past other students and skipping around pieces of metal scattered on the floor. When I glanced at the stands, Mama smiled at me again, while Mom lifted her phone to take a picture. I forced a smile and waved, then kept running. I scrambled out of the gym, grabbing the door frame to swing myself around into the hallway. I heard voices from down the hall and around the corner, loud enough to be clear even with my headphones softening the sound. Familiar voices. Chug, 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 chug! I slid around the corner and stared at the scene before me. There they were. They stood in a semicircle around the water dispenser, holding little cone-shaped cups of water with steam rising from the surface. In the middle of the group stood Alex, my team's programmer. His eyes were red and tears ran down his brown cheeks as he tried to drink the scalding water. Around him, the team chanted, "Chug, chug, chug, chug!" "What are you doing?" I shrieked as my nausea evaporated. The others turned to look at me. Alex lowered his cup of water and wiped at his tears. He laughed. "DJ bet me $10 that I wouldn't chug the hot water. I'm proving him wrong." "What? Why?" I shook my head. "That's dangerous. You could burn your throat." "Calm down, Evelyn," he said, running a hand along his short, curly hair. "We're having fun. You know what that is, right?" Oof, that hurt. He didn't know I was autistic. I usually didn't tell people, but still, ouch. "I know what fun is, but we have a match. We're next, and you all ditched me." I stuck my hands on my hips and glared at my team. "We were bored," Santino muttered. He stared at the ground, his shaggy brown hair falling across his eyes. Varsha nodded. "You weren't letting us help. We had nothing to do." She crossed her arms and glared at me. "Yeah," said DJ, the team's driver. He yelped and dumped his water into the dispenser drain. "I can't believe this water gets so hot. Ouch!" The rest of my team giggled and turned away from me. My stomach sank again. Why didn't they care more? This was our first tournament of the year. It was a big deal. More than ever, I wished Nayeli were here. She would understand. And with her around to help me, we wouldn't need the rest of the team. I rocked on my feet, forcing that thought away. "Come on," I cried. "Dump out the water and let's go. Our robot isn't working. I need the programming fixed." The other kids bit their lips and looked around at one another. Alex shrugged. "Fine," he said. He dumped his water and tossed his cup into the trash. Then he started back toward the gym. DJ held on to his empty paper cup for a minute, then grinned and stuck it on his head like a hat. "How do I look?" he asked as Santino and Varsha laughed. I groaned and hurried to catch up to Alex. I pressed every button, but nothing worked. I think your code is broken. Nah, Alex shook his head. You probably picked the wrong file. I made like 3 and only 1 works. He walked back into the cafeteria and over to our table at an excruciatingly slow pace. I glanced nervously at the stands where my moms waited. From far away, they probably had no idea how terrible everything was going. My hands trembled as I tugged on my hair. I had to win. If I won this, I could go to the state championship. And if I won state, then I could go to Worlds. And if I won Worlds, then the Tech Tigers would 100% want me on their team. When we finally got to our robot, Alex grabbed it and pushed the robot's long metal arm and claw aside so he could reach the robot's brain at the base. He turned on the robot brain's touchscreen and pressed a few buttons. The screen lit up and he navigated to a file folder. Yeah, looks like you had the wrong file. This one should have programming that works. I grabbed the controller and pressed the joystick. The robot lurched forward a foot, then stopped before lurching forward again. This drives terribly, I said. Alex shrugged. You were always building and never gave me a chance to test my code. It's the best I can do. I groaned. There was no time to fix it now. Alex's shoddy programming would have to work. I grabbed the robot and hurried towards the queuing tables where teams waited right before their matches. I peeked out at the stands again. My moms waved and cheered me on. Then I spotted the yellow and black jackets in the stands. The Tech Tigers were watching the matches too. I gulped. My palms felt sweaty against the cool metal of the bot, and I had to grip tighter as the metal slipped in my hands. My stomach was twisting itself apart, like a cloth being wrung out again and again. I had to do well. I had to win. At the queuing table, a tall lady with curly black hair tied into a bun smiled at me. She wore a green volunteer shirt and carried a clipboard. Hello, I said. I'm here for my match. The lady smiled wider. Her eyes traced my team's name on my shirt. She looked at her clipboard and her smile fell. Oh, sweetie, said the lady. I'm sorry, but you missed the match. We've already started the next one. Your team got marked as a no-show. The floor wobbled under me. I stared at the lady, not understanding for 2 long heartbeats. Oh, I said. I gripped the robot's frame so tight that the metal bit into my palms. I missed the match. I missed it. But wait, every team got to play at least 5 matches. They would earn points for each, and the teams with the most points carried on to the semifinals after lunch. I'd be fine. I would just have to win the rest. That's okay, I whispered, trying to believe it myself. Can you tell me when my next match is? The woman shook her head. I'm sorry. The rules on no-shows are clear. You missed your match, so you're disqualified from the entire tournament. Disqualified. My world froze, grinding to a halt like misaligned gears. I swallowed, then swallowed again. Reality sharpened painfully around me. The buzzing came back. The lights were too bright. The gym too loud. My headphones painfully tight against my ears. It was all I could do to hold it together. We'd failed. No, not just failed. We were disqualified, and everyone was witnessing it. My moms, the Tech Tigers, Team A, even Team B, my own horrible, useless, terrible team. There was no chance at taking this tournament by storm. No state, no worlds, just me and a half-broken robot. Failures.